1. I am a nurse who works in a very specialized treatment center. We're rather isolated at the bottom of a hill. We only treat adults with specific illnesses. To find us, you pass a huge medical complex, including a hospital trauma center, lots of lights, helipad, big H on the building, the works. Now, my building is locked down from the outside. You can move freely inside, but not near any external doors. Keep in mind, after hours we do not have a secretary, and a number to speak to someone if you have to drop off or coming as an admission is posted to the door. Also in big, bold letters, no emergency treatment at this location. This is important. So it was around 1 a.m. I was cutting through the front lobby of the building as a shortcut to the employee microwave to heat up my lunch, as we'd finally gotten enough of a slow point that I felt comfortable eating while I started my endless rounds of charting for the night. For the record, charting is our life. So much charting. Did the patient fart? Chart it. Cussed you out? Chart it. Halfway across the room, someone bangs on the outside set of double glass doors, and literally almost scares the piss out of me. Damn near dropped my food. And stare at the door blankly a second with, what the hell is the fuck-up fairy delivered to me that is rap-tap-tapping on the door now? Now I'm annoyed. No admissions are scheduled. However, it would not be the first or last time some wayward soul had appeared at our door needing help badly. When this happens, we do our best to either get them in with us or treatment someplace. However, I'm hangry, I'm tired, and I need to pee. So naturally, this is now my problem since I'm the senior nurse in the building. Please kill me. Going over to the intercom, the exchange went something along these lines. Can I help you? We need help right now, my toddler's sick. Ma'am, this isn't the hospital. We don't do emergency treatment here. The ER is right up the hill on the right. You just missed it. You will see her right now. No, I won't. We're not a hospital, and we have no emergency services. It's on the door. Hospital Trauma Center is up the hill on the right. You can't turn me away. Can and will. Hospital Trauma Center, up the hill. Left out of our lot. Turn right at the sign. ER is directly in front of you. Note, we are not permitted to provide any type of medical services to anyone not admitted, working, or signed into our building. I'm calling the cops. This is illegal. You have to see us. No, ma'am, I don't. She pulled out her cell phone and is punching numbers or whatever. Want me to call the direct line for you? They normally come pretty fast when I call. I can also call you an ambulance if you prefer, but you'd get there much faster by just driving up the hill. Cue some incoherent yelling, cause I'm laughing now, and she moved again from the intercom. Left out of the parking lot. On the right, ER straight ahead. She storms back to her car and peels out of the lot. At this point, I walk out the double doors, which open from the inside at motion, and watch her blow through the stop sign out of our lot. And I just laugh. Do hope her kid's okay, but man, I felt sorry for the registrar that got that piece of work. 2. So because the beginnings of this horrid epic aren't mine to tell, I'll give a brief overview. Wife's ex, D for douchebag, plans for when they got married. 1. My wife would not be allowed to dress like a regular person, old school full body dresses only, like your Aunt Lucille. 2. Church was mandatory. Wife was raised Catholic but finds more self-fulfillment in Wicca and paganism. 3. If it was found out later in life that my son was gay, the gay would be beaten out of him. A few other things along the same veins of logic, too many for this post to still be readable. For obvious reasons, my wife smartly ended the relationship before any serious commitment. But there was a tricky caveat. For my son's sake, he was told his entire life up to that point that douchebag was his father, as his biodad dipped as soon as he found out my wife was pregnant. My son took it like a champ when he and my wife finally told him the truth. And despite the fact of why I detest this guy with every fiber of my being, which I'll get into here in a minute, we told my boy it was his choice if he still wanted to call him Dad. He would use this to scurril his advantage to no end. Buying custom Jordans with my son's name and dad stitched to the heels for his birthday, for example, while my son lived in my house. Dee would also, in their prior relationship, and in my marriage to my wife, go behind her back and report anything he deemed as amoral and sordid to her parents because they held the same standards as him, getting her into huge trouble for just trying to live her life outside their strictures. This guy is a spineless coward, and I've only scared my wife with my anger a few times in our relationship. Most of those times were because of him. There's regular loud anger, then there's quiet radiating anger. For the first year of my marriage, this dickweed called up my wife on the regular demanding to talk to his kids. If they were unavailable or just didn't want to deal with him, he'd call her parents and say they were denying him access to his kids. My wife says that people like Dee are what's known as play daddies, i.e., only really take on the dad role when there are brownie points to be earned with the kids or there's good publicity. A few times when we've gone to visit her parents, suddenly a wild Dee appeared and we couldn't run. Christmas, summer break, you name it, he showed up asking for a day out with our kids. Finally, after about the third time, he made my wife cry with his bullshit. I'd had enough. This man had made the woman I was building a future with weep with impotent fury, and that made him my enemy. The next time he called, he once again had my wife in a state of emotional duress. I held out my hand and said in that quiet anger tone, "Babe, give me the phone." I then took the phone out onto the back porch and gave him a piece of my mind. It went to something like this. "Hello? Listen here, you gutless shit. I've had enough of your bullshit polluting my relationship. This woman, these children are mine now. The fact that we are even speaking right now shows in spades how magnanimous my wife, putting emphasis on how he has no ties here, is. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop with your bullshit. You want to play at being daddy? Fine. Then start paying child support for these kids you claim you want so fucking badly. If not, then fuck off. This game you're trying to play is pay to play. Without that money, you have no ties to these kids, and so help me God, if this keeps up, you better pray I not find you. So fish or cut bait, motherfucker, choice is yours. So, can I talk to my kids? I kid you not, I saw red. I had to hang up immediately before I broke my wife's phone. The sheer audacity and ego of this, as we called it in the Corps, colossal window fucking fucktard. And, of course, her parents took his side in all of this. Not long after we got a call from them, asking how she could let me talk to the man who'd done so much to help her raise those kids before I'd shown up. In no uncertain terms, my wife and I explained that I'm not going anywhere, he is not their dad, they need to remove their heads out of their asses, or I'd present them with a similar deal as I'd given to Dee. The next time I saw Dee in person, because of course her parents invited him to a family gathering, he was glaring at me most of the time. I'm a head taller and twice abreast of him. All I do is give him a look that says, "Try me, bitch, I will bury you." Oh, and let's not forget he's got a new woman that he so proudly brought with him when we visited for Christmas a few years ago. My infant daughter was only 6 months old at the time, and the lady asked if she could hold her. We didn't know her like that, and she's got affiliation with the D's, so we said that we wouldn't be comfortable with it. He's called to bother my wife a few times, asking if our son would be willing to be the best man at his wedding. My wife gave a very non-committal, "That's his choice, and only if we have the means, since he's 17. For those interested, my kids' godparents are a couple of California bears. I affectionately call them the fairy godparents. I couldn't care less if my boy was gay, doesn't change him as a person. My daughter, on the other hand, is as flaming as a little Technicolor phoenix. Also, what finally got my wife to get rid of this putrid sploosh stain was infidelity. He went over to help an old female friend move, and in his words, "I accidentally ended up fucking her when I stayed the night." 3. I didn't want to post this because it's quite embarrassing to me, but after telling my friends at work, they said I should, as it was funny, and if one person likes it, they would buy me lunch for one day. So here it is. To start this off, Today when I got up, I had gas. Yes, this is the embarrassing part. I don't know what I ate or what happened, but for most of the day I was farting almost non-stop. Sometimes it's quick, and others where I have to take a moment to let it out for a few seconds. Thankfully at my work, the noise from the machines covered my embarrassment. During my break, I was able to go to the bathroom, and after that it slowed down. But it still happened once in a while. After work, I stopped at a grocery store to pick up some food to eat. Now, this place is located in an area that has mostly retired and elderly people. So even though the mask mandates are being loosened, this store still keeps it going so as not to endanger these people. The encounter with Karen happened at the checkout. While I was in the line at checkout, Karen got in line behind me, about 2 feet from me. An old man said, "Excuse me, miss, but the 6 feet apart is still required."
"Oh, don't be like that. Those stupid rules are being lifted, so don't give me that crap."
The old man is next in line. He responds,
"Miss, there are still people who are immunocompromised to shop here, and the store keeps those rules going for that."
"Who cares? I'm not bothering anybody. And this man here doesn't mind,"
referring to me. Now, knowing this woman's going to be trouble if I say anything, and only going to escalate problems, so I did the only thing that would get this Karen away. While I was standing in line, I could feel my gas building up as I was trying to keep it in. But now was the time I knew I could get away with it and not have people look at me weird. I pushed my cart forward and my ass back and released a 5-second-long fart right in front of Karen, who wasn't wearing a mask. Karen, in a long screech and backing away more than 6 feet, said,
"Oh my God!"
And other people who were in line behind her began to laugh their asses off. The store manager, who was nearby, grabbed a magazine and began fanning in my direction behind me.
"Better out than holding it in, I say."
Karen says as she runs to another lane. People were still laughing while she ran. While I was getting checked out, the employee told me she was a problem customer and had multiple complaints. The manager knows her well and is generally done with her crap. After I paid and began walking to the exit, Karen came walking with me, manager in tow.
"That's him. That's the guy who assaulted me."
"Excuse me," said the manager, "but could you tell me what's going on?" She wasn't following the 6 feet apart rule and causing a scene with the old man over there, so I farted in her face.
"Okay, that's a good one."
"Aren't you going to do anything? He needs to be kicked out."
"Karen, you've been a problem customer for almost a year now. I'm more inclined to believe the other party rather than you. You know that we keep the 6 feet mask rule for the elderly, and you keep breaking them on a daily basis. I'm pretty sure you had it coming. You're lucky I haven't banned you from the store yet, so just go back to your shopping or this will be your last time entering this store."
"I don't believe this. You always choose to never listen to me."
"Because you cause trouble and are a pain in the ass."
"This is it. I'm calling corporate and getting you fired."
"You said that the last 5 times, and they tell you the same thing to stop wasting their time."
"You really know how to piss me off."
"Okay, Karen, get out. I've had enough of you for today." Karen then starts to walk off and is about to shout something else before the other manager says loud enough for her to hear,
"Hey, don't forget to blow her a kiss goodbye."
Karen, knowing what that meant, screams as she runs out the store with everybody laughing as she leaves.
"Okay, she's gone. Are you okay, sir?"
"I'm fine. I'm just glad she's gone.
She's been a pain right as she moved here last May, and thinks she runs the place."
"Well, Karen has to face the toll sooner or later. Can I go now?"
"Sure, have a nice day."
I leave and head home, laughing all the way while driving. So that's my embarrassing story to share. 4. At the time of posting this, I'm at home enjoying a glass of wine and some toast, all soggy from the rain that I had to walk home in. I'm a 22-year-old female who lives and works in the UK. I work at a typical British pub that has its fair share of rowdy, entitled behavior, and this isn't my first customer service job, so I'm getting better at dealing with any unacceptable behavior on the customer's part. For some context for my international listeners, in the UK, staff in pubs are allowed to refuse service to anyone for any reason, including no reason. it is also illegal for someone to be served in a pub whilst drunk. Now, onto the story. I will admit I didn't start my day off on a good note. It's my time of the month. I couldn't sleep the night before, and this was my first time being given the responsibility of opening and closing by myself, so I was both anxious and stressed, with Angel and Angelo, my two amazing managers, hanging around to make sure I was okay. They live above the pub, so they'd be there either way. My shift starts off slowly. It's a Monday, so I wasn't expecting it to be busy. A few groups come in, which gives me something to do until closing time approaches. 10:45 p.m. arrives. I call last orders so that the remaining customers can get in a final drink before I start closing the bar. Everything is going smoothly. People order and people leave, apart from Angel and Angelo and a couple of their friends. The pub closes at 11 p.m., so as the clock hits 11, I'm about to ask the remaining people to pay for any tabs they have running so I can cash up and close when Carino walks in. He entered the pub on his own, so I did not know that entitled customers 2 and 3 were outside, otherwise I definitely wouldn't have served them. He's a regular at the pub, so I greet him and he asks if he can order a drink. Being nice, I tell him that he can have one, but I'm closing after that, and this is when I realize 2 more people are outside. I was mid-order when the 2 walk in, and I immediately notice how drunk they were. In particular, entitled customer 2, who was walking all over the place and bumping into things. Against every sensible bone in my body, I think, screw it, I'm closing anyway, so I just serve them. Carino pays, and I continue to close the bar. To be honest, I was getting a bit annoyed at this point. Between my raging hormones, lack of sleep, and a hungry belly, I just wanted to finish and go home. Thinking back on it, I definitely regret letting them in, but they would have yelled at me anyway, so I guess it's a lose-lose scenario. Angel, Angelo, and their friends are finishing their drinks. I'm chatting with Angel and clearing glasses, waiting for everyone to finish and leave, when I see a phone on one of the windowsills. I ask if the phone belongs to anyone, praying that it doesn't belong to someone who was in earlier, and they just left it behind. Before asking the drunk entitled group if anyone was missing a phone, it took them a few minutes, but they realized that entitled customer 2 was missing their phone. So I go and grab it and walk to the other section of the pub to give it to them. Now I need to say that as far as I know, unless I blacked out for a few seconds, I held the phone out to entitled customer 2 until they grab it. All I said was, "Here you go," before walking away to resume whatever I was doing before. Apparently, I should have bowed down to the 3 of them and held the phone out as an offering, because Carino suddenly went off. I heard him mutter a few words, and am confused as to why he sounds so annoyed, because all I did was give a customer their phone back. I ignore it and start to unload and clean glasses from the glass washer, when I hear Carino yell at me from over the counter.
"Why are you being so rude?"
What did I do?
"You slammed the phone on the table and stormed off. This is not the kind of customer service I expect when I come here. You are so rude."
Okay.
"This is completely unacceptable."
Okay, you can leave now, thank you.
"Oh, I am leaving."
Carino storms off. Angela and Angelo are looking at me with concern, but I just laugh and shrug it off. It isn't the first time I've been yelled at by a customer, and it definitely won't be the last, so I don't care. Carino is still ranting about how rude I am, about how as a regular he should get better service than this, blah blah blah. The usual entitled stuff. Angel and Angelo are amazing managers, so they don't tolerate any kind of abuse towards their staff, no matter what. Angelo begins to argue with Carino, but makes sure that it doesn't get too out of hand, as he doesn't want to further upset an already angry Carino, who is walking around slamming doors on his way out. Unfortunately, I tend to tune out these kinds of encounters, so I couldn't say what else was said to Carino by Angel and Angelo, who were both having none of his garbage. I continue doing my thing, closing the pub. I go and clean the table the 3 were sitting at, and had to direct a very, very drunk entitled customer 2 out of the side door, and they were trying to force open the locked front door. Not much happened after that. Angel was making sure I was all right, and Angelo was making sure Carino hadn't damaged anything. They both told me that if he ever came in again and spoke to me like that, he'd be immediately banned from the pub. Hilarious. I know that this could have been prevented if I'd just told them that we were closed, but as I mentioned earlier, he's the kind of person who would have yelled at me no matter the situation. Thank goodness I have amazing people that work with me. Well, I'll accept one, but that's a different story entirely. Thank you for listening. 5. I walk my bearded dragon. Yes, you heard that right. On a leash. His name is Rex, and he is 7 years old and is the sweetest thing on this planet. He has never hurt anyone, and even my little 5-year-old niece has tea parties with him. So the fact that this Karen would yell at me for simply walking my lizard, who would hurt no one, still baffles me. Now, this was 3 days ago, and I'm still heated about it. The day started off normal, woke up, took care of my other pets, went to my volunteer job, and got my legs ripped up by the kittens, but that is fine. But when I came home and rested, I took Rex out on a walk, and, well, here's what happened when we got to Karen's house. Rex wiggles and claws into my shoulder, letting me know he wants down. I set Rex down in the grass on the nature strip in front of Karen's yard, the bit by the street. Now here walks Karen to put out her trash, and thus here is a conversation. Is that a lizard? Yes, his name is Rex, and he's a bearded dragon. You can pet him if you want, he's very friendly. Is it even legal to have one of those here? Yes, it's Florida. So I'm letting him enjoy the sun and get natural light. Well, can you get that thing off my lawn? By the way, we were not in her lawn, we were in the strip by the street in her front yard. So it wasn't her yard. Before I call the cops for you letting a dangerous large lizard roam in my property. Miss, this is a pet-safe neighborhood, and most of the people here know me and my dragon, and he is completely safe and not near or hurting you. So why is it a problem? It's a problem because he's so big and covered in spikes, and he could come at someone and bite them because reptiles are dangerous and cold-blooded killers. After she said that, I was thinking, Leechless Sonia, who the freak do you think you are? Because you are 3 seconds from getting hurt by me more than my son. Yes, I call my dragon my son, or so help me God. Well, Rex here is completely harmless, and the fact that you judge all reptiles like that is very rude. And what even would cause you to think that a reptile would hurt you? Did one hurt you before? I saw Komodo dragons on Animal Planet, and they're the same as your lizard. Yes, in some ways, but their diets are way different. Plus, what is Rex gonna do when he's the size of your foot? Thankfully, we live in a neighborhood with 3 cops in it, and all of them are very friendly, and both know me and Rex. Now, here is where it gets good, because right as she is about to yell at me more, one of the cops, Dave, walks past with his pit bull. Hello, Em. Hello, Rex. He proceeds to stop and pet Rex while his pit bull licks Rex. The dog and Rex are besties, and his dog is super gentle with Rex, and he never gets scared by the dog. Can you please get this monster off my yard or call animal control for her having an illegal reptile? Actually, miss, the reptile isn't illegal, and it's fine for her to walk it in the grass. Also, you're honestly harassing this girl and her lizard, so unless you want problems, I suggest you let her continue her walk. Fine. But I'm telling the homeowners association about this, and we'll get her and her monster-loving family kicked out of this neighborhood. She goes inside her house and slams the door. Bye, have a nice day. I give her the middle finger slyly. I hope you have a nice day, Em. And he goes on his way walking his dog. You too, Dave. I go home with Rex and give him extra mango as a treat because it is his favorite. It has been 3 days and nothing has happened. And that Karen has been keeping her distance from me and my son. But every time I see her, I make Rex give her a tiny lizard middle finger. That's what you get, Karen. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, number 63. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. And their tiny lizards. And also, I'd appreciate it if you enjoyed the video, share the video around, spread the word. Some people would like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to teach them to hush up a little and listen to the magic of Hellfreezer. Alright, here we are. We're on Thursday, aren't we? Yes, oh, sneaky Thursday. Didn't see you there. Nah. Okay, let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. Which is, now depending, and this will vary depending on where you live, but would you like it to be warm for most of the year and cool for just a few months? Or would you like it to be cool for most of the year and warm for just a few months, like it generally is here in the UK? Personally, I think cool and warm is a better combination, but that might just be my preference, given the place I live in and the fact that it's easier to warm up than it is to cool down, I generally find. Let me know what you think in a comment below. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.